You'll see like these girls being like, oh, at least I'm never gonna be the vanilla wife. Let me tell you a beautiful story. A man and a woman get married. She is faithful to him and he loves her unconditionally.
This is how they tricked all the women into leaving their cushy lives at home so that they could frickin' inflate all the wages so now no one can afford anything.
If that's our schizo mind, dude, I think that's
not schizo.
No, it's not schizo, but like other people would think it is. Dude, that is such a fact. Imagine being told that you're being oppressed because you get to stay home and raise your children, only to go to work and not be able to afford to have children anymore.
Welcome, brothers. In this time when feminism has become quite radical, where women have turned men into enemy number one. But whenever there is a movement of hatred, a movement of love always arises. This movement is the trad wife, women who are choosing a different path, that of being a wife, connecting with their feminine energy and loving their husbands. This has feminists filled with hatred. Before we proceed, brothers, we want you to support us in our goal of reaching 50,000 subscribers in the coming months. We want the family to keep growing. So please support us with your likes and subscriptions, and don't forget to leave your comments. Without further ado, let's begin.
Okay, so I'm here to make a clarification video because of the big controversy going around about the term trad wife and the intent behind the term, as well as the intent behind my channel and what I post. If you are not familiar with the term trad wife, it is a woman who chooses to live a more traditional life with ultra-traditional gender roles. So the man goes outside the house, works, provides for the family. The woman stays home and she's the homemaker. She takes care of the home and the children if there are any. The misconception about the trad wife movement, it's not really a movement. Nobody's pushing it. People are typically just living it and maybe showcasing their lifestyle like me. And we believe our place, specifically us as individuals, believe our purpose is to be homemakers. It doesn't mean that we are trying to take away what women fought for. There are a lot of people trying to make this a sinister thing or put some other darker meaning behind the term trad wife. Nobody is doing that. No trad wife TikTokers are saying every woman's place is in their home. We as individuals are just choosing to be homemakers. That's all. Trad wives also believe that they should submit to their husbands and serve their husbands and family. And that triggers people because the words submit and serve, it makes women think that we're saying that we're less than a man. That's not what we're saying. Trad wives just believe that they are here as women for a different role, equally as important though. I can make another video on that another time. To be a homemaker and to have traditional values does not make us bad people. It's 2022, women should have the choice to be homemakers or not without being judged. And women should also be able to use the term trad wife, which means traditional wife, and not be shunned for wanting to be more traditional.
Applause to this woman who puts her family first above her career. These women receive a lot of hatred from feminists or from women who demonize this movement. Many hate it because they saw their mothers being homemakers, and others, who have hit the wall, look at it with suspicion after having chosen an empty work life. For a man, having a woman who decides to stay at home, take care of their children, feed them with a warm meal, and play the role of a wife is wonderful. That man appreciates it because there's nothing that motivates a man more than having a supportive woman. Let's be honest, maintaining a household on a single income is difficult, but when you have someone who supports you, who helps you save money, who knows how to manage your home, and when you see your children well cared for, getting good grades, having good values, a clean home, and coming home to a warm meal, brothers, that is very motivating. It motivates you to work harder, to find more sources of income to support your home, because you don't want to lose the privilege of having your wife and your sweet home in harmony, something that a single feminist who has hit the wall doesn't understand.
I think one of the things that drives me the most insane about these trad wives or these like conservative women who are like cosplaying the trad life is that they perpetuate this narrative that you have to be at either end of a very radical spectrum. By that, I mean, in their eyes, you're either this like crazy lesbian living in the city who doesn't shave her armpits and hates men, or you're this, traditional homemaker, housewife who's just popping out babies and has goats and chickens. You do realize you can still be a stay-at-home mom and live on a farm and have goats and chickens and have a bunch of kids with your husband and still be a very progressive, pro-choice, pro-equality individual. I just really fucking hate that they make women feel like they have to be this or this. Do you know what I mean? Why does having a farm and having a garden and growing your own food and, you know, having your own animals and having your kids have to be like secular to this traditional conservative idea? You could be a lesbian with a wife and a farm and a garden and raising your own kids and living the homestead life and being very progressive. Like it drives me crazy. I hate it.
You hate it because you don't have it. It's that a woman who comes with this progressive mindset, which only instills hatred towards men, blaming everything wrong that happens to women on a patriarchal system controlled by men, especially by the oppressive white man, is nonsense. These traditional women understand it. When a woman marries a man, she sees that the narrative of the colorful hair movement doesn't make sense because she sees her man working, taking care of her, loving her, respecting her, and providing a home where she can be happy. They share the burdens of life. But women who have never married a man, who only live in this movement supporting absurd laws, women who believe that everything a man does should be criticized, end up becoming lonely and depressed with a cat. They are women whom men don't want to approach, women with such a bad temper that they make everyone around them miserable. That's why these women hate her because, as she says, there are two extremes, but she doesn't criticize the other side. She criticizes the side she can't obtain on her own because the other side will always open the door, especially when she reaches 30 and hits the wall, because we all know that the wall does not forgive.
We're talking about trad wives again today, and oh my god, do I have a story for you. TikTok ruined my husband of 12 years, now he wants a trad wife, and we're getting divorced. I'm gonna go through and summarize the article, but basically that they got married, they were never a traditional couple, they both worked, they both had the same hours at work, and all of a sudden he started watching trad wife content and idolizing a specific content creator and started making mean, nasty comparative comments to her and talking about how now he wants a submissive trad wife. Even though she said she never wanted to be a homemaker or a stay-at-home mom, and they had been living 12 years of their marriage with a very, very equal dynamic, and all of a sudden he becomes verbally abusive. He says he wants a submissive wife, that he deserves better, and yada, yada, yada. He ends up contacting other women, having emotional affairs, and now they're getting divorced. Quote unquote, because he deserves better. Now, as someone who does have a semi-50s aesthetic and is a stay-at-home mom, I often get lumped into this idea of being a trad wife. But I want to start off by saying there's nothing wrong with having traditional gender roles as long as that's something, as the woman, you want to participate in and you feel safe and supported in doing so. Same thing with dressing modestly. I don't think there's a problem with a woman choosing to dress modestly or a woman choosing to stay home with her children because that's how she feels the most fulfilled. I think the problem comes in when that's the type of woman a man is searching for, because usually they're doing that to search for somebody who they can be dominant over. And trad wife content can kind of lean into the fantasies of men like this, these men who are wishing to have this submissive, dominant role within their marriages. And what you see online absolutely has an element of fantasy and cosplay that gets lost in the social media literacy of some of these viewers. That is one of the reasons I take a lot of issue with trad wife creators on TikTok who talk about this being the idealized and natural role of a woman. Because although that might be right for you, making that a broad generalized statement can do some real harm to actual women and actual marriages, like in that article.
There is this modern woman, clearly married and with her children. She criticizes this idea of the trad wife when she behaves like one. It's like she's saying, "Don't do what I'm living through." Brothers, this man who left his marriage had a certain idea of what it would be like to get married. After they got married, he saw that everything turned out the opposite of what he had thought. Perhaps he saw a marriage where, as the woman said, the dynamics were shared. Maybe he found himself having to spend more on household expenses when both worked, with a wife who hardly paid him any attention, as most likely all the chores were shared. He probably encountered a strong-willed woman who worked and believed she could do everything herself. This man started watching these videos, realizing that something was missing. He didn't feel appreciated or well taken care of for what he was bringing to the table in his current marriage. This often happens with married men and non-traditional Western women. They see how they come home and can't even find dinner, have to do an equal share of household chores, and have to bear more financial burden when both are working. On top of that, they hear complaints from their wives, and they're not even well taken care of. This man decided it was better to leave this marriage than to live more years in this misery. That's what happened, and that's why he left. So, if a trad wife affects your marriage, it's probably because you're not taking good care of your husband.
You said that it is a privilege to be able to have like the traditional lifestyle with the woman or the man staying home, doing the stay-at-home person thing, and the other one working and being able to provide. Why would you say that's a privilege?
Because most people do not find a partner that is financially responsible enough or financially capable enough or willing to work hard enough to do that.
So the definition of privilege is a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group.
Right.
How?
Because you are my wife and you have the privilege of staying home and doing the things that you're doing. And it is a privilege. It's a special thing that you get because you married a man who is capable of doing those things.
So I do agree that it's a privilege for me. In saying that, like a man providing that lifestyle, I don't view that as a privilege. Like the man being able to provide that as a privilege for the man.
It's
Because
not.
the man has worked to get to that point.
Right. No, it's not a privilege for
Okay.
the man. It's a privilege for the woman.
Okay. I wanted to make sure because that's
Yeah.
where I was hung up on that. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't understand how a man providing that is a privilege.
It's not. It's a flex to us.
Yeah, I would say it's a flex.
It is definitely laying the dick on the table and being
Yeah.
like, I fucking am better than most of the men in this room because my wife doesn't have to get her hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
That my wife doesn't go to work and submit to another person.
Yeah.
That my wife submits to me in our household and to God. And to know
Mm-hmm.
that we have the fucking dynamic that we have. And she doesn't have to worry about shit. I handle that. Like we discussed that last night on the live stream.
Many women who see these trad wives think they are like slaves to their husbands because they hear words like submissive or submit, as if they were prisoners or had to do everything as the man dictates. In truth, they are just women who respect their husbands to give weight to what they say. Something that the modern woman doesn't understand is respect. She knows that if her man leads, he doesn't oppress her. One thing I've noticed about this woman is that she is very supportive of men. I may not be enamored with her appearance, but she is very feminine in what she says and does with her partner. It's like the man says, it's a privilege. Although those in the colorful hair movement get angry when you say this, having a man tell you that he will take care of the entire household so that the woman can stay at home and take care of the children is a privilege. Because that financial burden is quite high, especially in this country. Having the luck not to work and being able to provide the upbringing you want for your children with your values, living through their entire childhood, is something that many women are not fortunate enough to experience.
I've been seeing a lot about this trend of trad wives. I've got nothing against women who want to have children. I have nothing against women who want to stay home, who want to defer responsibility to their husband. When it's a choice, no problem. But when it's expected, when it's given to you from on high by some authority, a culture, a church, a partner, a family, that's when it's a problem. When you're saying trad wife is the only option, or even that it's the best option, might be the best option for you. The minute you make it about what's best for everyone, you are taking people's sovereignty away. And be careful, because the trick, the harm, the danger, is it for it to swing completely the other way and say, well, that's not good for anyone. No, sovereignty means you have the right to define yourself, to choose yourself, to own yourself. And if you are going to be sovereign and give yourself, you want to sovereignly choose to give yourself over to a family, a job, a military, a culture, a partnership, a role. You have that right. That's sovereignty. Don't tell me what to do with my feminine life, my womanly life, and I will not tell you what to do with yours. We're both going to be sovereign, then we must both be sovereign and respect each other's personal, individual choices. That's sovereignty.
Don't tell them what to do with their lives and their sovereignty, but when it's you who spread messages of hatred towards men, when you start giving messages like dating coaches when you're not in a relationship, when it's you blaming everything bad on men, then those messages can be used to tell women what to do. But when a woman says she's going to bake a cake for her husband, it feels like she's taking away your sovereignty. That's why I say the mindset of a woman who has a man in her life compared to one who doesn't is incomparable. This woman has hit the wall. Let's be realistic. What sovereignty are they going to take from you at 40 or older when you can no longer be the traditional wife if you've hit the wall? Even if they give you a choice, you're a single woman with a cat. Sadly, the train to being traditional has already left. What's left for you is to follow the path that all those who don't end up with a man do. Hit the wall and get yourself a cat because, unfortunately, the wall doesn't forgive. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, The questions are for you. What do you think of the tradwives movement? Do you believe this is affecting the feminist discourse against traditional marriage? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.